Palworld, otherwise memed on as Pokemon Gun, came in like a wrecking ball and very clearly took the gaming community by storm. But just how much truth is there to the online critiques? First and foremost, let's get over our first hurdle and address the elephant in the room. If you've been following along with the drama and controversy, which since you're here, I'm going to assume that you have been, it comes as no surprise that the biggest gripe about Palworld has been its blatant copying of existing Pokemon and designs. Now initially, all of the examples I had seen online were a bit of a stretch, with people comparing designs like Wooloo to Lamball or Donphan to Mammorest. And while I could definitely see the similarities people were referring to, Pokemon doesn't own the rights to elemental elephants or cute sheep monsters. Plus, these, though a little derivative, are clearly very different designs from Pokemon like Wooloo or Donphan and even Copperajah. However, as more of the PAL deck, that's Palworld's version of the Pokedex, started to make its way on the interwebs, the accusations of copy-paste designs became almost impossible to deny. Several of the PAL designs are almost one-to-one copies of already existing Pokemon or fusions of several Pokemon with palette swaps or just slight changes, like this PAL here that looks like a grass-type Cinderace with a large fluffy tail and longer thinner ears. But despite what people online are claiming, I don't think Palworld flipped assets from Pokemon games. I think what they actually did was model their own monsters, but they copied directly from a Pokemon model while they were working. For example, they probably had a Cinderace model opened right beside them, or maybe even in the same project file while they were working on Verdash, and then they just tried matching the models as closely as possible, then making some tweaks so it looks different. Pals like Dire Howl and Verdash are almost carbon copies of Lycanroc and Cinderace, and pals like Robinquill, Fenglope, and both Cremis and Nox are so close to the designs of Decidueye, Cobalion, and Eevee that if you squinted, you could mistake them for one another. But what about gameplay? At the time of writing this, I have a little over 7 hours in game, and I've got to say, the game is actually a lot of fun. The character creator isn't too complex, but it does give you a lot of creative freedoms with things like the color of hair, skin, and eyes. You can be a green orc monster, a red devil monster thing, or you can just be a regular human. It's got some funky eye options and a decent selection of hairstyles. Now, it's no Baldur's Gate 3 or anything, but I legitimately had a hard time choosing a hairstyle because there's several that I really liked. Now, the character models themselves look fantastic. I don't know if these character models are assets they got off the Epic Game Store or something like that, or if they built them themselves, but either way, they are incredibly enjoyable to look at. Palworld somehow manages to one-up Arc in the Cursed Body Sliders category though, and I am both thrilled and very concerned for the characters people are going to make online with these. Now, the difficulty of the game is fully customizable, but it does come with 3 preset difficulties: casual, normal, and hard. And when they say hard, they mean hard. Now, I had accidentally been playing on hard for my first few hours and was regularly getting one-shot by pals that were only 2 or 3 levels higher than me. I quickly adjusted that to about 2.5 times just to keep the game still challenging, and then I fidgeted with some of the other settings to make gathering faster and food and stamina drain slower. Whenever I play these survival games, I kinda like to focus on base building and the monster taming aspect of the games, so I always change these settings to kind of give myself a little bit of a buff when it comes to gathering and to, reduce the actual grind I have to put in. Now, if you're planning on diving into the game, I would highly recommend playing around with the settings to see what works best for you. You can change them at any time so you don't have to worry about locking in with janky settings and then having to re-roll a whole new world. Once your character and world are all set to go, you're greeted with the standard waking up on the beach intro scene with an advanced ancient tablet that tells us the towers are the key and the tree holds the truth. Hold on, wait, the tree holds the truth. Then we're just left to our devices with light prompting from our tutorial objectives. Now, right away, I have to say again, the game looks fantastic. I have seen a few people online saying the stylized pals against the realistic style of the world is jarring, but I think it works well together. The world isn't hyper realistic and is, in my opinion at least, just stylized enough to blend well with the pals. Now, you can see me taking massive amounts of damage here from a simple Lamball because I still had the 4 times damage multipliers. So yeah, if you're thinking of playing on hard, good luck with that damage multiplier, folks. Now, right away, I'm getting major Arc vibes with the UI and gameplay loop. If you've ever played any kind of survival game, the gameplay is going to click for you right away. Now, first things first, I find a good spot to set up shop right near a fast travel point and then begin constructing my base. I craft some arrows, hunt some pals, gather some pallium to make pal spheres, make some new drip with the wool from the Lamballs I've hunted, then finally catch my first pal. Yeah, I know it took me a while, but I was legit having fun crafting and hunting and gathering and building my base, so I didn't get around to catching pals right away. Now, one thing Palworld does that I really like is how it designates your base area with these PAL box buildings. When you place one down, it creates a perimeter around it, marking the area with this blue ring that determines where your base area is. To create multiple bases, you need to upgrade your PAL box to a level 10, which you do by building specific buildings within your base perimeter and then going to your PAL box to level it up. It's honestly a fun system that provides that hit of dopamine we all get from achieving something and then getting rewarded for it. Now, I don't know if other games have done this before with their base building, but I thoroughly enjoy the grind and how it gives you a little bit of a direction on what to do or build next. Once I officially set up my base, I set out to gather more pals to put them to work. Some things I want to highlight during this process. Pals have these skills called passive skills. They seem to be randomly generated and some pals don't have any. They're essentially traits that can give you or your pals buffs or debuffs to their stats or to your damage resistances or your damage outputs. Pals also have partner skills, which are specific abilities that directly help the player, like Kativa's skill, which increases your carrying capacity while it's in your party. The game has this climb any surface mechanic like Breath of the Wild, which I really liked. Wild pals of the same species will team up to attack you if you aggro only one of them. Wild pals also seem to have some sort of interaction with each other from time to time. I don't know how deep this is, but I do know that I killed this Fox Spark, I believe it's called, and out of nowhere, this giant Nightwing dropped out of the sky, scaring the hell out of me, and then started eating the dead Fox Spark, which is kind of cool, and I don't know how much deeper this system is, but hopefully it's pretty deep. And lastly, if you ever catch a Gummos, or Gummos, I don't know how it's pronounced, never let it plant its seed in your garden. This thing is legit giving Lick-a-Lily and Lick-a-Tongue a run for its money. By the end of my 3-ish hours, I ended up with a giant Chickapee, which is apparently a special rare spawn, which I think is this game's shiny system. But instead of color palette swaps, rare pals get a passive skill called, I think, Lucky, that boosts all of their stats. You also may notice from the on-screen UI that I ended up switching to playing with controller. I don't typically play these fast-paced action and shooter games on keyboard, so I was awful at dodging and throwing pal spheres. I was just wasting pal spheres by throwing them randomly, and dodging was non-existent for me with the mouse and keyboard. So if you seem to be having a hard time with mouse and keyboard, definitely give controller a try. I find the control schemes are way better suited for controller. Now, whether you support the game or not, it's hard to deny that the game is actually extremely fun and addicting. Nothing they've done is necessarily new to the survival, open world, or monster taming genres, but it's like they've taken all of the best features from the genres and fused them together. It's obviously been heavily compared to Pokemon, but honestly, besides the monsters, the game is way more similar to Ark. I wouldn't call it Pokemon with guns, but more like Ark with Pokemon. I will likely be spending a lot of my time during 2024 in Palworld. I hope the devs keep supporting the game. I hope it isn't just some cash cow scam. And I hope that they eventually phase out the one-to-one Pokemon designs, because the wholly original monster designs that they do have are pretty good and, in my opinion, good enough to rival some Pokemon. Like, look at these pals. As far as I can tell, they're not just copies of Pokemon or blending several Pokemon, and they look great. If they had released the game with only these designs, I think a large majority of its critics would be able to enjoy the game with a lot of us that already are. And it just kind of sucks that the game released with a stain on its reputation that's kind of probably going to follow it for the next little while. All in all, if you're someone who doesn't care about the controversy all that much and Palworld has caught your eye, I would definitely recommend trying the game. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one, folks. Depending how well this video does, there may or may not be some more Palworld content hitting the channel soon, because not only am I having a blast with the game, but there's a few other interesting things that I kind of want to unpack, and I want to do that here with all of y'all. So if you enjoyed what you saw and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to let me know that you want more Palworld content, and I will catch y'all next time.